welcome back. Or, if this is your first night here, if you've found your way to sleepy voyage through the darkness of a difficult day, welcome. You belong here. The day has been long, hasn't it? The kind of long that lives in your shoulders, in the tightness behind your eyes, in the weight you didn't ask to carry, but carried anyway. You've held so much today, held it together when it wanted to fall apart, smiled when you didn't feel like smiling, kept going when every part of you whispered that you couldn't. But you did. You made it here. And that matters more than you know. Tonight, there's a place waiting for you. A journey that asks nothing of you except that you rest. A flight that exists only when it's needed most, carrying those who've forgotten that good news still exists somewhere in the world. Before we begin our journey into the winter sky, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you ensure this refuge will always be here waiting for you on the difficult nights. If tonight's story brings you peace, your support means this sanctuary remains open for others who need it too. So let me take you there now, to the airport at midnight, to the flight that's been waiting. The terminal stretches empty under amber lights that pool on the polished floor like liquid warmth. Outside the tall windows, frost has drawn delicate patterns across the glass, each crystalline branch catching the glow from inside and scattering it into soft geometry. The cold presses against the windows, visible somehow, as if winter itself is watching from the darkness beyond. But here, inside this vast quiet space, the air holds a different temperature, warm, sheltering. The kind of warmth that finds its way beneath your skin and makes your muscles remember they don't have to be so tight. The gate area sits at the far end of the terminal, marked only by a simple number on a sign that seems to glow with its own gentle light. Gate 47. There are no crowds here, no rushing footsteps or anxious voices, just the hum of heating vents pushing warm air through unseen channels, and somewhere distant, the murmur of a coffee machine completing its cycle in an empty cafe. The benches are soft, covered in fabric that's been worn smooth by countless travelers, not threadbare, just loved, familiar. A figure moves through this space with unhurried steps. They carry nothing but a small bag, worn at the corners, the leather darkened by years of handling. Their coat is still dusted with snowflakes that haven't yet melted, tiny stars caught in the wall. They pause at the window, one hand rising to touch the cold glass where frost has bloomed. For a moment they stand there, forehead nearly resting against the window, breath fogging the surface. Through the glass, the tarmac stretches dark and empty except for one aircraft, a single plane waiting under floodlights, its white fuselage glowing against the winter night. Something about seeing it there makes their chest loosen slightly, as if they'd been holding something without realizing. And now, seeing that plane, they can finally let it go. The boarding door stands open, a rectangle of golden light in the dim terminal. No announcement has been made, no call for passengers, but they know somehow, in the way you know certain things without being told, that this flight is for them, that this is exactly where they're meant to be. The jetway is empty and quiet, the ribbed floor slightly springy beneath their feet. They can smell coffee and something else, something like clean linen and old books and rain on warm pavement. The scent of spaces that have held many people gently, absorbed their worry, and given back only peace. Then they're inside the aircraft, and the warmth wraps around them completely. The cabin is lit with the softest light imaginable, coming not from harsh overhead fixtures, but from small lamps built into the walls, each one casting a pool of amber glow. The seats are wide and deep, upholstered in fabric the color of winter twilight. that dusty blue-gray that holds both day and night inside it. Blankets rest folded on each seat, thick and soft, the kind that have weight and substance, the kind that make you feel held. The aisle is narrow but not cramped, intimate, as if the space itself is designed for quiet movement, for gentle passage. They move down the aisle slowly, one hand trailing along the seat backs. The fabric is warm to the touch, slightly napped, comforting against their fingertips. Above them, the storage compartments are closed, and small reading lights cast tiny circles of illumination at intervals, like a string of quiet stars. They choose a window seat halfway down the cabin. The seat accepts their weight with a gentle give, not too soft, not too firm, supporting without demanding. The armrest is smooth wood, warm under their palm. They settle in slowly, shrugging out of their coat, folding it with care before placing it in the seat beside them. The small table folds down with a quiet click. Someone has placed a cup there already. Steam rises from it in lazy spirals, carrying the scent of chamomile and honey and something else they can't quite name, but that makes them think of safety. They touch the cup with their fingertips first, testing the temperature before wrapping both hands around it. The ceramic is perfectly warm, not hot enough to burn, but warm enough to send heat traveling up their wrists, into their forearms, spreading through their body like quiet assurance. They don't drink yet. Just hold it. Just breathe in the steam and let their shoulders drop another inch. Outside the window, the terminal lights cast long shadows across the empty tarmac. Snowflakes drift down through the floodlights, each one visible for a moment before disappearing into the darkness below. The night is deep and absolute beyond the reach of the lights. The kind of darkness that goes on forever, that holds the whole sleeping world inside it. But here, inside this cabin, there is only light, only warmth, only the gentle hum of the aircraft's systems preparing for flight, a sound like a heartbeat, steady and sure. Other seats are occupied now, though they didn't see anyone else board. An elderly woman across the aisle, her silver hair catching the amber light, a book open in her lap, but her eyes looking out the window with a soft expression. A middle-aged man several rows ahead, his hands folded on the armrest, his breathing already deep and even. A young couple near the back, sitting close but not touching, both of them gazing out their respective windows as if seeing the same memory in the darkness. No one speaks. No one needs to. There's a shared understanding here, an unspoken recognition that everyone on this flight is carrying something, that everyone here has forgotten, at least for a while, that good news still exists, that hope still lives somewhere, even when it's hard to find. The cabin lights dim slightly, and somewhere up front, a figure moves into the aisle, tall and unhurried, with silver hair and a warm face lined by years of smiling. He wears a simple uniform, dark navy with gold buttons that catch the light. His name tag reads simply, Samuel Hartley. There's something about him that makes you want to trust him immediately. The way he moves, perhaps, without hurry, without any sense that there's somewhere else he should be. As if this moment, this flight, these passengers are exactly where his attention belongs. He doesn't make an announcement, doesn't speak into a microphone or recite safety procedures. He simply walks down the aisle slowly, pausing at each occupied seat to make eye contact. A gentle nod, a soft smile. When he reaches the window seat halfway down, he pauses there a moment longer. His eyes are kind, the kind of eyes that have seen difficulty and chosen gentleness anyway. He doesn't say welcome aboard or fasten your seatbelt or any of the usual things. He just looks at them with recognition, as if he knows exactly why they're here, exactly what they're carrying, and exactly how much they need this flight. Then he moves on, continuing his slow walk to the back of the cabin and then returning to the front. They hear him at the cockpit door, the quiet sound of it closing. The engines begin to hum with more purpose now, a deeper sound, still gentle but building, the kind of sound that vibrates through the seat, through the body, finding all the tight places and slowly, patiently, asking them to soften. The aircraft begins to move, not suddenly, not with a jolt. It simply starts gliding backward, away from the terminal, pulled by forces they can't see but can feel. Smooth, certain. The terminal lights slide past the window, amber turning to streaks of gold, and then they're turning. The nose of the aircraft swinging around until it faces the long dark ribbon of the runway. The engines increase their hum. The aircraft pauses there for a moment, as if gathering itself, as if making sure everyone inside is ready. Then they're moving forward, slowly at first, then faster, the lights along the runway passing in quicker succession. White and red and white again, a rhythm that matches the deepening hum of the engines. Faster now, the seat presses gently against their back. The cup on the table remains perfectly still, not a drop spilling, held by some magic of physics or care. And then, so smoothly they barely feel it, the aircraft lifts. The nose tilts up slightly. The wheels leave the ground. They're rising, climbing through the winter night, leaving the terminal behind, leaving the city behind, climbing up toward the low clouds that hang like a ceiling over the sleeping world. The wing outside the window cuts through the air with absolute certainty. They can see ice forming along its leading edge, tiny crystals catching the light from the wing's red beacon. Blink, 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 a steady rhythm, a heartbeat in the darkness. They rise through the clouds, and for a moment everything outside the window is grey, dense, moving past in soft billows. Then they break through, and suddenly the world above is clear. The moon hangs full and bright, casting silver light across an endless expanse of cloud tops that look like a frozen ocean, like snow-covered hills, like a landscape from a dream. The clouds glow from within, lit by the moon, stretching to every horizon without break or interruption. They've left the world behind, left the weight of it down there, below the clouds, below this clean, bright silence. Up here, there is only moonlight and the gentle rumble of engines, and the sense of moving forward through space that has no landmarks, no reference points, nothing but light and air and endless possibility. The cabin lights have dimmed even more now. Most of the reading lights are off. In the soft amber glow that remains, passengers have settled into their seats, wrapped in blankets, some sleeping already, some gazing out windows with expressions of quiet wonder. The aircraft has leveled off, flying smooth and steady, and the hum of the engines has become something you don't hear so much as feel. A vibration that reaches into your bones and whispers that everything is exactly as it should be. Samuel Hartley appears again, moving down the aisle with a tray. Not food, not drinks, just small folded papers, each one cream-colored and sealed with what looks like wax but softer, warmer to the touch. He pauses at each occupied seat, offering one of these papers with both hands, a gesture that feels almost ceremonial. When he reaches the window seat halfway down, he holds out a folded paper with particular care. They take it, feeling the weight of it, surprising for something so small. The paper is thick, textured, the kind that holds ink well and doesn't tear easily. Their name is written on the outside in elegant script, not typed, handwritten. They don't remember giving anyone their name. Samuel Hartley settles into the seat across the aisle, the one the silver-haired woman had occupied, though she seems to have moved, or perhaps was never quite there to begin with. He doesn't speak right away, just sits there, hands folded, looking out the window at the moonlit clouds streaming past below. After a long moment, he speaks, his voice quiet but clear, pitched to carry just far enough and no further. "There are still good people in the world," he says. "I know because I've met them. I know because I've been collecting their stories for longer than I can remember. That's what we do on these flights. We carry good news. The kind that's easy to forget exists. The kind that gets buried under everything else until you start to believe it's gone forever." He pauses, watching the clouds. His profile is gentle in the amber light. "I met a woman last week," he continues, "in a city I won't name because it doesn't matter where. She'd spent 3 years writing letters to someone she thought would never write back. Letters of apology. Letters trying to explain things that seemed unexplainable. She wrote them because it felt better than not writing them, even though she never expected a response. And then one day, 3 years after she started, a letter arrived. Not angry, not accusatory, just kind, just saying, 'I forgive you. I always did. I just needed time to find the words.'" He turns from the window, and his eyes find each passenger in turn, gentle and unhurried. A man in Toronto spent 5 years learning sign language because his new neighbor's daughter was deaf, and he wanted to be able to say hello to her properly. No one asked him to. No one expected it. He just did it because it seemed like the right thing, the kind thing. He folds his hands again, and the gesture is so peaceful, so free of any tension, that just watching it makes your own hands want to unclench. "Somewhere in Arizona," he says, "a teacher has been saving part of her salary every month for 8 years. She uses it to buy winter coats for students who need them. She does it anonymously, leaves them in lockers with no note, no name, no expectation of thanks, just coats appearing for those who need them, like small miracles. The aircraft hums its steady hum. Outside, the moon continues its arc across the sky, and the clouds below continue their slow drift, and up here, in this space between Earth and stars, Samuel Hartley's voice weaves stories like threads of light through the darkness. There's a librarian in Maine, he says, who noticed that an elderly man came in every day and sat in the same chair but never checked out books. She learned that he came because his apartment was cold and lonely, and the library was warm and full of quiet company. So she started making sure there was always fresh coffee in the reading room, started leaving the newspaper open to the crossword puzzle on the table beside his chair. Small things, invisible things, acts of care that asked nothing in return. He leans back in his seat and the leather creaks softly, and somehow even that sound is comforting. Good news are still in the sky, he says quietly. Some of them are meant for you. They look down at the folded paper in their hands. The weight of it suddenly feels significant. They unfold it slowly, careful with the corners, and inside, in that same elegant script, is a message. Not long, just a few lines, but the words reach into the hollow places and fill them with something warm. Someone you loved remembers you kindly. A mistake you made was forgiven long ago. The thing you think you ruined can still be mended. You are not too late. There is still time for soft endings and gentle beginnings. They read it twice, 3 times, feel something in their chest that's been locked tight start to loosen. Not breaking open, just softening, just allowing possibility back in. Around the cabin, other passengers are reading their own messages, and on each face, the same expression appears. relief, recognition. The sense that someone, somewhere, sees them clearly and chooses kindness anyway. Samuel Hartley stands, collecting the tray, but before he moves away, he pauses and speaks once more, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "We fly this route every night," he says, carrying people who've forgotten that hope exists, reminding them that the world still holds more gentleness than cruelty, more light than darkness, more reasons to keep going than reasons to stop. We fly through winter skies and summer storms, through autumn mists and spring dawns, and we carry good news. Because someone needs to. Because it matters that someone does. He moves away then, back toward the front of the cabin, and the aircraft continues its steady flight through the night sky, and inside, wrapped in warmth and amber light, passengers settle deeper into their seats, holding their messages, believing, perhaps for the first time in a long time, that good news might actually be meant for them. The hours pass in that way unique to night flights. Time becomes fluid, elastic, stretching and compressing in ways that defy measurement. The cabin has fallen into deep quiet now. Most passengers sleep, heads tilted against windows or resting on provided pillows, mouths slightly open, breathing deep and even. The silver-haired woman sleeps with her book still open in her lap. The middle-aged man sleeps with one hand over his heart. The young couple near the back sleep facing each other, and in sleep their hands have found each other across the armrest, fingers loosely intertwined. The passenger in the window seat halfway down doesn't sleep yet. They sit with the blanket pulled up to their chest, warm and heavy, holding the folded message in one hand and watching the night world pass below. The moon has moved across the sky, and now it hangs lower, larger, casting long shadows across the cloud tops. The shadows are blue and deep, and the highlights are silver-white, and the contrast creates a landscape of impossible beauty. They think about the message, about someone remembering them kindly, about forgiveness they didn't know they'd received, about time still remaining for things they thought were finished. The thoughts come slowly, without urgency, and they let them come. Don't push them away. Don't analyze them. Just allow them to be there, present and acknowledged. A memory surfaces, unbidden but not unwelcome. A summer afternoon years ago, sitting on a porch with someone who mattered, drinking lemonade that was too sweet, laughing about something that seemed important then but whose details have faded now. What remains is the feeling, the ease of it, the sense that in that moment everything was exactly right. No striving, no performing, just being together in sunshine that turned the world gold. They haven't thought about that afternoon in years, didn't realize they still carried it, but it's there, preserved perfectly, and touching it now doesn't hurt the way they expected it to. It just feels warm, like finding something you thought you'd lost forever and discovering it's been in your pocket the whole time. The aircraft makes a gentle turn, banking slightly, and through the window they can see the wingtip cutting through wisps of cloud, leaving trails of disturbed air that catch the moonlight and glow briefly before dissipating. The movement is so smooth, so carefully controlled, that it feels less like mechanical flight and more like something alive, something choosing its path through the sky with intention and grace. Samuel Hartley appears in the aisle again, though they didn't see him approach. He carries a thermos now and 2 cups. Without asking, without speaking, he pours steaming liquid into both cups and hands, one across the aisle. The scent rises with the steam. Not coffee, not tea exactly. Something herbal and slightly sweet, with notes of vanilla and something darker, richer. Honey, maybe, or caramel, or just comfort distilled into liquid form. They accept the cup and wrap their hands around it, feeling that now familiar spread of warmth up their arms. Samuel Hartley sits again in the seat across the aisle, holding his own cup, looking out at the night. "I've flown this route for 37 years, he says after a long silence. "Started when I was younger than you are now. Back then, I thought I knew what people needed. Thought it was about getting them from place to place, safely and on time. Efficiency, professionalism, all the usual things." He takes a slow sip from his cup, and the line of his throat moves as he swallows. "It took me a long time to understand that what people actually need is simpler than that," he continues. "They need to be seen, not observed, not assessed, just seen, recognized, acknowledged in their humanity. And they need to be reminded, sometimes, that the world isn't as hard as it feels. That kindness still exists, that good news still happens, even when you've forgotten how to look for it." The aircraft hums its steady hum. Outside, stars are appearing above the cloud layer, distant and cold and beautiful. Thousands of them, millions. An entire sky full of light that's traveled unimaginable distances just to reach this moment. "We all carry things," Samuel Hartley says softly. "Regrets, mistakes, moments we wish we could change, people we miss, words we should have said or shouldn't have. It's the nature of being alive. But somewhere along the way, we start to believe that what we carry is all we are, that the weight defines us, that we're nothing but the sum of our failures." He turns then, and his eyes find theirs, and in his gaze is something that feels like recognition, like he knows exactly what they carry, exactly how heavy it is, exactly how tired they are of holding it. "But that's not true," he says. "You're not defined by what you carry. You're defined by the fact that you keep going anyway, that you keep trying, that you keep looking for the light even when you can't remember what it looks like. That's what matters. That's what good news is, really. Not that everything turns out perfect, just that you endure, that you continue, that tomorrow still comes, and you meet it." The words settle into the quiet cabin like snow falling on already covered ground, soft, accumulating, building into something that has weight and presence. They look down at their cup, at the steam still rising in delicate spirals. They think about endurance, about continuing, about all the mornings they've woken up not wanting to but doing it anyway, getting out of bed, getting dressed, going through the motions even when the motions felt meaningless. And maybe Samuel Hartley is right. Maybe that is the good news, that despite everything, they're still here, still trying, still capable of sitting on a night flight and feeling warmth from a cup and watching moonlight on clouds and finding it beautiful. Somewhere in the cabin, someone sighs in their sleep, a long exhale that sounds like release, like letting go of something held too long. The sound seems to ripple through the space, and other passengers shift slightly, settling deeper, as if that sigh gave them permission to rest more fully. Samuel Hartley finishes his drink and stands, collecting the empty cup from across the aisle with a gentle smile. Before he leaves, he places one hand briefly on the armrest of their seat. The touch is light, barely there, but it carries intention, comfort, assurance. Then he's moving away, back toward the front, and they're alone again with the night and the clouds and the steady hum of engines. They turn their attention back to the window. The moon is lower now, approaching the horizon of clouds. Its light has taken on a warmer tone, less silver, more gold, as if it too is preparing for transition, for change. for the inevitable shift from night into day. Below the aircraft, the clouds have begun to thin in places. Through the gaps, they can see lights far below, cities sleeping, towns glowing like scattered embers, roads marked by streetlights, threading through darkness, connecting places, connecting people. From up here, it all looks so small, so fragile, so impossibly precious. They think about all those lights, about all the people down there, sleeping in their beds, dreaming their dreams, carrying their own weights, fighting their own battles, about how everyone is trying their best with what they have, how everyone is looking for good news in their own way, how everyone deserves gentleness even when they don't receive it. A new memory surfaces, not from years ago, but from recent days. A small moment they hadn't thought significant, standing in line at a grocery store, tired and impatient, when the person ahead of them realized they didn't have enough money. The embarrassment on their face, the way they started putting items back, hands shaking slightly, and without thinking, without hesitation, they'd stepped forward and handed over the difference. Not much, $20, but the person's face had transformed. Gratitude and relief flooding in where shame had been. They'd forgotten about it almost immediately. Just a small thing, barely worth remembering. But now, in this airplane, in this space between earth and sky, it feels significant, like evidence, like proof that they're capable of kindness too, that they contribute to the good news, not just receive it, that the world is gentler because they're in it, even in small ways, even in ways they don't remember or track or count. The realization doesn't arrive with fanfare, doesn't feel like revelation or epiphany, just settles quietly into place, like a piece finding its proper position in a puzzle. They've been so focused on what they've done wrong, what they've failed at, what they carry, they've forgotten to notice what they've done right. The small decencies, the quiet kindnesses, the moments when they chose compassion when they could have chosen cruelty or indifference. They're not perfect. They know that. They've made mistakes, hurt people, failed in ways that matter. But they've also helped, supported, loved, made others' burdens lighter when they could. And maybe that's the real message Samuel Hartley was offering. Not that everything is fine or that pain doesn't matter, just that the ledger is more balanced than they thought, that they've brought light as well as shadow, that they're enough even with all their imperfections. The cabin is deeply quiet now. The only sounds are the engine hum and the occasional soft breath or shift of someone sleeping. The amber lights have dimmed even further, barely glowing, just enough to mark the aisle, to prevent complete darkness. It feels like being inside a heartbeat, safe, rhythmic, alive. They pull the blanket higher, tucking it under their chin. Their body feels heavy now, in a good way. Muscles that have been tight for so long are finally releasing, shoulders dropping, jaw unclenching, hands opening. Their eyelids are heavy, wanting to close, but they resist for a moment longer, wanting to watch the night, to see what comes next. The moon has reached the horizon of clouds and is beginning to sink below them. For a few moments, it sits there, half visible, turning the clouds beneath it into molten gold. The sight is almost unbearably beautiful, the kind of beauty that makes your chest ache, not with sadness, but with fullness, with too much feeling to contain. Then the moon is gone, slipped below the cloud layer, and the sky above begins to change. Imperceptibly at first, just a subtle lightening in the east. A shift from true black to something softer, deep blue, twilight blue, the color of possibility. Dawn is coming, slowly, carefully, as dawn always comes, not announced, not rushed, just arriving in its own time, transforming the world degree by degree, moment by moment. The stars are fading. The clouds below are beginning to catch the first hints of pink and gold. Somewhere under those clouds, the world is waking up. People are opening their eyes, starting coffee, beginning their days, moving forward into whatever comes next. The aircraft maintains its steady flight through this transitional space, not hurrying, not trying to outrun the dawn or chase it, just flying through it, existing in it, allowing the change to happen at its own pace. The engines hum their constant hum. The passengers sleep their peaceful sleep. And up front, somewhere in the cockpit, Samuel Hartley and his unseen co-pilot guide this vessel through the sky with practiced hands and gentle hearts. They think about landing, about returning to the ground, about stepping back into the world with its demands and difficulties and daily weights. And they realize that they're not afraid of it the way they were before. Something has shifted. Some burden has been set down, not erased, not forgotten, just placed carefully aside, made manageable, put into proper perspective. They still carry things. That hasn't changed. But now they also carry good news. The knowledge that someone remembers them kindly. That forgiveness exists. That time remains. That the world holds more gentleness than they remembered. That they themselves are part of that gentleness, contributing to it in their own small ways. The sky continues to lighten, rose gold now, spreading across the eastern horizon like a promise being kept. The clouds have become distinct, individual, no longer just an undifferentiated mass, but a landscape of shapes and shadows, valleys and peaks, all of it glowing with reflected light. Beautiful, impossibly beautiful, and temporary. This exact moment will never come again. This specific arrangement of light and cloud and color exists only now, only here, and then it will transform into something new. That's okay. That's how it should be. Beauty doesn't have to last forever to matter. Kindness doesn't have to be grand to count. Good news doesn't have to solve everything to be worth receiving. Some things are perfect precisely because they're brief, because they're gentle, because they ask nothing in return. Their eyes are closing now. Can't keep them open any longer. The weight of sleep is pulling them down, soft and insistent, and they surrender to it without resistance. The last thing they see before their eyes close completely is the sky turning from rose to gold to the palest blue, and the clouds beneath catching fire with morning light, and the wing of the aircraft steady and sure, cutting through air that's becoming clearer with every passing moment. Good news are still in the sky, they think, remembering Samuel Hartley's words. Some of them are meant for you. And wrapped in blankets, held by the gentle seat, surrounded by the steady hum of engines and the quiet breathing of fellow travelers, they sleep, deep and full and peaceful, the kind of sleep that heals, the kind that restores, the kind that allows you to wake with the sense that something fundamental has shifted, that the world is somehow gentler than you remembered, that hope is not just possible but already present, already here, already yours. The aircraft flies on through the dawn, carrying its passengers from darkness into light, from night into day, from heaviness into something lighter. Below, the world wakes. Above, the stars fade into blue. And here, in this space between, people rest, safe, warm, held. The flight continues. The engines hum. The clouds stream past below, glowing with morning. And somewhere in the cockpit, Samuel Hartley smiles, knowing that once again, good news has been delivered. That once again, someone who forgot about hope has remembered. that once again, the journey has done exactly what it was meant to do. The landing will come when it comes, gentle, certain, a smooth return to earth. But for now, in this moment, there is only flight. Only the space between departure and arrival. Only the peaceful interval where transformation happens quietly, invisibly, in the depths of sleep and the warmth of kindness and the steady assurance that the sky still carries good news for those who need it most. And they do sleep, deeply, completely, trusting the flight to carry them, trusting the dawn to come, trusting that when they wake, whenever that might be, they'll find themselves still held, still safe, still surrounded by evidence that the world is kinder than they feared. The wing cuts through morning air. The sun rises behind distant clouds. Light floods the cabin, warm and gold and full of promise. And inside that light, wrapped in blankets and silence and the steady hum of engines, people rest, healing, softening, returning to themselves. The good news flight continues its eternal circuit through winter skies, appearing when needed, carrying those who've forgotten, reminding them gently that hope exists, that kindness survives, that tomorrow still comes, soft and sure as dawn after the longest night. They sleep, the aircraft flies, the world turns, and somewhere in all of that, in the space between heartbeats, between breaths, between one moment and the next, something that was broken begins, quietly, to mend.